Okay.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sharon Gale, and I'm reading at the Hickory Stick Bookstore in Washington Depot. I received a call just recently from an acquaintance in the Midwest who informed me that the book that I wrote, a young adult book called Goddess Gilda, which is up there somewhere, was earmarked for the banned book list in that school district. And I thought, yeah, I was so flattered because to be in the company of books that deal with real life, with issues that are traumatic and tragic, to deal with illness and death, with abuse, with bigotry, with sexual identity. But what these banned book listers don't seem to understand is that these books are not about the tragedy and the trauma they depict, but they're about, many of them are about the courage to get beyond it. They're about finding the inner strength to move on, to cope. They're about finding one's voice. And so I've selected a book called Speak. It's a young adult, written by Laura Halsa Anderson, and it's about a 14-year-old girl, Melinda. Melinda starts ninth grade burdened by this secret that she's been unable to tell anyone. She was raped at a party the summer prior to starting her ninth grade. And she had called the cops, but she froze because in her mind she was screaming, but she wasn't able to utter a word. And so when the cops came, she panicked, she ran. Her friends all thought she'd called the cops because of their underage drinking. She enters high school completely ostracized by all of her friends, and she sinks further and further into herself. She skips class, she skips school, and she kind of finds a janitor's closet to hide in so that she can have a place where she feels safe. And in the janitor's closet, she hangs a poster to cover up the mirror. And she hangs a poster of Maya Angelou. And she said that Maya Angelou, the librarian, had told her that Maya Angelou is one of the greatest American writers. The poster was coming down because the school board banned one of her books. She must be a great writer if the school board is afraid of her. She found solace as well with her art class. The teacher was a sensitive guy who assigned a tree, and she just couldn't manage to make that tree come to life. The teacher said, "The next time you work on your trees, don't think about trees. Think about love, or hate, or joy, or rage. Whatever makes you feel something, makes your palms sweat or your toes curl. Focus on that feeling. When people don't express themselves, they die one piece at a time." And so she gets through most of the semester, a good part of it. The year is coming to an end. And she learns that her best friend from middle school is going to prom with the rapist, Andy. And so she musters up the strength to finally reveal her secret, but she does it in writing. She writes a note to Rachel and she says, "I didn't call the cops because of the drinking. I called the cops because I was raped." And her friend sees the note, freaks out. But for Melinda, it was the unburdening that allowed her to begin to come back to life again. And so she decides to go back to the scene of the crime. And I'll read this little part here where she rides her bike to where she was raped at the barn. She says, "Some part of me has planned this, a devious internal compass pointed to the past. The lane isn't familiar until I glimpse the barn. I squeeze the brakes hard and struggle to control the bike on the gravel shoulder. A wind rips through the phone wires overhead. A squirrel fights to retain her balance. I think about lying down. No, that would not do. I crouch by the trunk, my fingers stroking the bark, seeking a braille code, a clue, a message on how to come back to life after my long under-snow dormancy. I have survived. I am here, confused, screwed up, but here. So how can I find my way? Is there a chainsaw of the soul, an axe I can take to my memories or fears? I dig my fingers into the dirt and squeeze. A small, clean part of me waits to warm and burst through the surface, some quiet Melinda girl I haven't seen in months. This is the seed that I will care for. Finally, she gets the strength to come out of her janitor's closet. She dismantles it. She takes down the Maya Angelou poster and her artwork. And then the door slams, and the lock turns, and it's Andy the rapist after her again, because she had sullied his reputation by revealing to Rachel that he was the one. And so she panics, and she says, I am trapped with Andy Evans. He stares at me without talking. He is not as tall as my memories, but he is still loathsome. The light bulb throws shadows under his eyes. He is made out of slabs of stone and gives off a smell that makes me afraid I'll wet my pants. He cracks his knuckles. His hands are enormous. But this time, she finds her voice, and she screams, and she's finally rescued.